Charlie Bates Jr. from Goodman, Missouri, a 1980 extended A model, Gold Nugget, truck number 5. The only extended hood Gold Nugget ever built by accident.
By accident?
By accident.
How does that happen?
Well, when the guy went to order it, he ordered the truck. The trucks weren't in production yet. They kind of had the renderings and what they were going to be. He's like, yeah, I want one. He got home. His boy's like, did you get an extended hood this time? Nope. He called the salesman, said for $200, it could be an extended hood.
What?
So they built it, and it got built. It just slipped through the cracks. Years later, there's a couple stories about that. The salesman that ordered it, he sent me a message on Facebook one time. Like, you know, that's a real rare truck. It's like, yeah, I know. He said it was a fluke deal. It slipped through. The gentleman I bought it from, he called out there to Washington, tell him about it. He was wanting some history on Gold Nuggets. There isn't much. And he said, well, I got an extended hood one. The guys at the plant's like, no, you don't. You don't have an extended hood. He's like, I do. I got one. And I have the original build book on it, the bill of sale on it, the warranty paperwork, all the stuff. So it's a real deal. And a friend of ours, Randy Humphrey, knew a guy that had seen that truck when it was new and wanted one. So he went to his dealer to order one. And they're like, you can't get this in extended hood, just standard hood. So if you've seen one, somebody had built that into that. And he's like, well, who would do that to a brand new truck? And years later, when I bought the truck, I've had the truck about 8 years now. Randy come to the shop when we was putting it back together. He calls his friend on the phone. He's like, hey, that truck you seen, it is real. And he's like, I told that salesman it was a real truck. So it's just a fluke deal, slipped through the cracks. Even here at the plant, they don't know nothing about it here at Chillicothe.
Mm-hmm. So was it originally, it was just supposed to be like a standard hood and cab over option, right?
Yep. They were all standard hood, 36-inch sleeper conventionals, and single bunk K100s.
Was there a limit on how many they were making?
I don't really know if they put a limit on it, but the story goes just 200 is all they made of Gold Nuggets. But there's no definitive number on K100s versus the conventionals or nothing like that. And I'm thinking the highest number I've seen of one is like 178. And Don West has done more research and knows where they're at, but apparently I think he has number 1. We kind of know where number 2's at. The guy won't sell it. I don't know about 3 or 4. He would know more about it. And then he had at one time number 6, and mine's number 5. So, and so on and so forth. But you don't see them that much. You know, there's some still run around, but not very often.
And that's the original paint and interior?
For the most part, interior's original. The paint's been touched up here or there, but for the most part, it's still original, you know, paint on the outside too.
And then, so it's the colors are specific, right? But not exactly the stripes too?
Well, the deal is on the stripes. A lot of guys also thought like you could get the stripes going down, you could get the stripes going up. Well, they thought if they went down, it was Cat. If they went up, it was Cummins. Well, that's not true. You could get them either or. George Lapp has 2 of them that are sequential serial number, sequential nugget numbers, because it was ordered by the same dealership, and they ordered 3 of them. From what I understand, Cale Herring has the other one. So they were all 3 in line together, but his has stripes up, stripes down. They both have Caterpillars. What I understand is the first year of production, they built them and from 6 of 80 and then through the whole 81 build year. Well, the 80 model ones, I understand, were all built in Washington, but the 81s could be built in Chillicothe and in Kansas City also. And at that particular time, then you could get even 8 V92s. I've seen some with them, but they're all supposed to be 15-speed trannies, Cummins or Cat, all standard wheelbase. Cat. And standard wheelbase, 8-bag air ride. Well, then on into 81 to sell them, they started changing up a little bit. And just like the color codes go, I have seen different variations of the color. For instance, like there's one back where I live that has no black on it. It's chestnut brown top and bottom with the brown and gold stripe on it. And so I've seen several of those. I've seen some K100s painted like that. There's one picture that showed up on the group on Facebook. It's Gold Nugget and all the same colors, but they're in different spots. So the truck's not even painted the same colors in the same places, but it is all the same colors. So, I mean, I don't know, just different variations, I guess, however they wanted to do it.
Do you work yours?
Every day. Yeah, I have a lot of people like, oh, you shouldn't run that. My good friend Larry Lawhead, that's a salesman at the Joplin MHC, every day him and Scott Robbins, they're like, and Scott's the manager of the dealership there, like, oh, you need to put it up, quit running it. I was like, I bought it.
How much you want to pay me for
right.
it?
I was like, I bought it to run, and that's why I wanted to enjoy it. I said, and that's why it's never been repainted. A lot of guys said, oh, you should redo it. You got the guys say you shouldn't. If I repainted it, there's no way I could use it.
It's only original ones.
Right. I would want to put it up. And I was like, someday it may become just a shop queen and get out to use. But I said, until the fun wears out of it, I'll just keep driving it, because that's why I bought it for us to use it. But it does work every day. I've had a lot of people ask me, you don't work this, do you? All the time.
Sorry, I interrupted you about the wheelbase.
$225.
Okay.
And see, so mine is just a little bit longer because of the 12-inch long hood, but most of them are all the same. There's barely enough room between the drive tires and the fuel tank. Still short. And then the guy's like, you should stretch your truck. I'm like, well, I would if it wasn't what it was. But I said, I'm going to pretty much leave it, like it is.
Every time I climb into an A model, all I think about is how big the step is to get in. Is that extra step factory?
Nope, they're add-on, and those come off an old truck that my dad had from back in the 80s. They call those staircase steps when it's got the 2 bottom steps, but it does make it a whole lot easier to get in and out of.
Yep, I always struggle.
Right. But I don't know, it's a neat truck. It actually, when I bought it, I was like, man, this is going to really stink the way it's going to ride and stuff, short wheelbase, but it rides excellent. It's probably one of the best riding and driving trucks I've ever had. I had some rear end problems with it one time, and I had to borrow a friend of mine's 660 to take my load on to Pennsylvania, and I'm like, this is going to suck, man. This brand new 660, air ride front end, all this stuff. And by the time I made it to, probably Illinois, Effingham somewhere, he called me and said, what do you think? I was like, dude, I wouldn't trade a picture of my truck for this truck. And I hate to tell you that, but this thing is a POS. And he's like, man, I feel the same way. I didn't know how you would think about it. I said, I really thought I was going to ride good, and I was going to hate my old truck. But I said, that's not the case. And I told him he had I'm not real familiar with the Peterbilt numbers, but I think like a 377 slope nose Peterbilt. And I borrowed it one time. My dad had a transmission go out of his truck, so he needed to borrow my truck for the week. So the guy was home for let me borrow that truck. And he asked me about the Peterbilt. What do you think about this? I said, look, this thing rides excellent. Don't tell anybody I said that. I'll deny it. But I said, I like this truck. It rides and drives good. But for what my truck is, it really drives good. So I was disappointed in the new Kenworth. I really hated to have been making payments on that, and like this thing rides like crap. But I've had some that weren't that great riding wise, but that one does. It does pretty good.
And it's pretty.
Yeah.
And you get attention.
It does. I get the Smoking the Bandit stuff a lot, so I don't even try to correct anybody. I'm like, yeah, it is. But I get that a lot. Or even when it start getting back to the history of it, there's some older guys coming in and it's like, this ain't the only extended hood. They made several of them. I'm like, look, I'm not getting into it anymore. I've had it long enough. Most people know the story on it for the most part, but I have another guy, Facebook friends. I've never met him in person, but I told them where an extended hood was and they bought it. But Reed Golden bought an actual gold nugget from down his area in Alabama. But he made his into an extended hood. It ain't made it out yet, but it's got a V8 in it and extended. It's going to be cool. And he's
yours
like,
is the OG.
Right. He's like, I know it ain't an original. I was like, yeah, but now people will see it and they'll be like, yeah, I told you. There's another one. They're like, whatever, man. It's your truck. It'll be a cool truck, but his will be all fresh and redone, which would have been hard for me because his truck was all in good shape and in good order. I would have probably just cleaned it up and left it like it was. But, I'd like to find a K100, but I've never seen one in person, just pictures. I haven't
either.
I have a factory, never been installed in a truck, K100 interior. All of it. Seats, everything.
Not a gold nugget interior.
It's gold nugget,
oh,
yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep. No dash plaque or nothing like that. But I was looking for a briefcase. They came with a little briefcase that matched the interior of the truck. And a buddy of mine that's all time like on Craigslist and parts deals stumbled across it in Indianapolis. And he sent it to me. Well, the ad said hot rod interior. And it just had a few pieces, odds and ends of gold nugget interior. I'm like, well, I don't need all that kind of stuff. But I want that briefcase. So I called the guy. And he was like, nope. I said, I'll give you $100 for that. He wanted like $500 for all the interior pieces he had. I thought that's all he had. And so months go by, and I'd call him every so often. Nope. And I happened to be back in Buffalo, New York, and I was coming back. And the place, I can't remember the name of the town, but it was just north of Indianapolis. And I said, I'll swing by. And I got there and went in his shop. And here's this great big box. I'm like, what the heck is this? He opens it up, and here's brand new gold nugget seats in it and the doghouse cover stuff. Like, what the heck is this? He's like, the rest of it's in the other garage. And we dig through it, and it was all the rest of the upholstery, carpet, everything, complete. Gold
so
nugget.
If anyone's watching this,
right,
and they know where a gold nugget cab over is, hook us up.
Right. I asked the guy, I was like, well, how did you come up with this? He's like, well, back in the late 80s, I had a cab over gold nugget, and we wanted to redo it. So I wanted to see if I could get an interior for it. And I was like, what'd you get the old stuff? He said, well, we throwed it away. And I'm like, oh, crap. But he's like, I called Kenworth, and they happen to have 2 of these complete still interior kits. And I was like, you're kidding me. He's like, nope.
Wow.
So I bought both of them. He said, and I've since years ago sold the Nugget. And one day I was digging around the shop and found this. Like, man, I ought to get rid of this. So I'm like, well, crap. Now my trailer's got a seal on it. I can't break it. I was making multiple drop loads there. And so I really hated to have to leave the boxes there because I couldn't take the big boxes with the Kenworth emblems on them and stuff. So I had to unpack everything. But I drove from basically Indianapolis back to Southwest Missouri, straight through, with the whole bunk full of interior and the whole passenger seat all the way up with interior, gold nugget cab over interior to get home. But I've had it. There's been a couple guys that know about it, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to sell it yet. I said I might, but I said I'll tell you this: the briefcase won't go if I sell it, and or the Nugget seats. Because if I ever quit driving that, I'll put the factory style seats back in the truck.